And
Yeah,
also,
astrology helped us. It helped us so much, even though we went through all this, but the last few years since we've been really diving in, it's, I don't know, just given us a depth of understanding.
Yeah. Kind of that way we know where we're at. Know how to, and it's continuous, continuing learning about ourselves through it. It's not like you look at the chart once or twice and you know it. It's we it depends on what we're going through, changes what aspect we're looking at.
For sure.
And then we might look at it and be like, oh, I didn't even realize that was
a
thing. And so we go dive deeper into that and we're like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I did that big time when Magic Baby showed up and we found out we were pregnant with number 5. I was like, whoa, whose chart? Where is this?
Who was responsible?
He actually had his progressed moon was transiting through the 5th house, and it started in the 5th house and we got pregnant with Saffron, and then it literally left a month after we got pregnant with this one. It left the 5th house and I was like, it's your fault.
That's crazy. I saw another thing today. Can you put on transits on top of this? Is that possible? Is that something you can do?
I don't think I can with the synastry.
Okay. But I went to see your chart, Laura, and Jupiter is coming to your nadir, to the IC, the opposite of the MC, which is a point for your home. And Jupiter is coming there. And a big thing about Jupiter transit your nadir or the IC is that you will buy land or have a baby.
That's funny. Or
that is really funny.
Or have a baby. That's amusing. Seriously, that's what it was. That's funny. Yeah. So here's, I just pulled up my specific chart is with this transit. Which one were you referring to? I know Jupiter's right now.
Hang on.
Jupiter's right now at, where are we? 7 degrees in Aries. And my sun is at 8 degrees Aries. Is that what you were looking at?
What was I looking at?
I don't know, but it's opposite my Mars and all my 5th house stuff, which is having babies.
Just before this reading, I was checking your chart and with the transits, and okay, I don't know, maybe I had another
different date.
Or maybe someone else who's gonna have a baby. Apparently. That is so odd.
That's funny.
That is really odd. And anyway, okay, let's skip that. But that is another pointer. If you're gonna have a baby, is Jupiter on the nadir.
That's funny.
Interesting.
Yes, and this one is going to be a Jupiter conjunct Sun in Aries. Like, no matter when baby shows up, that's when, and he's got an Aries moon and I've got an Aries sun. So that's just a lot of Aries when you combine the two of us.
And it's a funny story about your kids because you have 4 kids now.
Yeah, 4.
And each of these have a lot of one element.
Yeah. So Elliot's about 55% earth. Gertie's about 50% fire. Guinevere is 55% water. And Saffron is 60% air.
And that is like too strange to not to be like a coincidence. Right? That is really, really funny.
Isn't that interesting?
But yeah, it was so interesting to see. So what is this 5th baby going to do? Because there's 4 elements.
I think 5th baby is going to be balanced. I think we are going to create the avatar.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The master of all of the elements.
Right.
So.
For sure. And then Aries, like a total reflection of yourself, Laura.
Right? Which is so intriguing because our last child, Saffron, whose birthday is actually this Saturday, she turns 2. And she only has one thing in fire, and it's Chiron. And it happens to be at 6 degrees Aries. Now, his moon is at 4 and mine's at 8. My sun is at 8. So I'm like, how interesting is that? Yeah. So I want to dive into that specific thing a little bit more and do some more research and see you know, like what the meaning of that is. Like her Chiron sardined exactly between his moon and my sun in Aries, and it's the only fire sign she has. And then now she's going to have a sibling who will have a lot of Aries.
Oh yeah.
Right after. So I'm so curious how this will play out. So curious. But yeah, we have a lot of, and here's the thing, when you look at synastry and you look at our chart, I don't really see anything that's like, oh, this is good or oh, this is bad, right? Like we have some oppositions. We have a couple squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares, 2 oppositions, and then a couple trines and a couple sextiles. But overall, when I look at charts that have red lines, I just think, oh, look at the stuff you guys get to get really good at.
For sure.
Right? Like you get to work on that and get good at it. And now we've been together over 23 years. And we have gotten good at balancing our emotions and chaos. Like that's something I don't want to say we've perfected it, but
yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily, you'd call it good. It's just something we've kind of found somewhat of a rhythm where even if it does go too far one way, we can kind of bring it back, and we understand why maybe it went too far, but we're not like whereas maybe before it'd been like, whoa, what are you doing over there? Whatever. But
and that's the nature of oppositions. So as to learning to have balance in the middle, and you don't have balance by standing in place. You have balance by dancing and moving and kind of, it's a controlled fall essentially. So we've learned to dance big time with these emotional, chaotic storms that show up.
But that's what I think about with all relationships too. When I look back to the relationships I've had, it's like, what did I learn from that? What did I need to learn from that relationship? Because they were all here to teach me something. And question is, if I learn something from all of them, that's where you always have a choice, free will.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's like life, it's not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to get challenges so you grow.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And we do use our astrology charts quite a bit to really lean into where the growth needs to happen, right? You look at these red lines. So his Mercury is square to my Saturn. So when he communicates, sometimes that causes this authoritarian or this Saturnian issue within me, right? Like there's this almost this irritation, and I've learned how to not take that personal, and I will say things like, I don't need your Capricorn right now. Like, right? Like I've learned how to recognize that he's not doing anything to make me mad purposefully or, just irk me. It's just who he is and how he communicates. And I'm feeling irritated because of this square. And like, this is in my head, knowing we have this kind of communication struggle we have to work on. And if I'm feeling that Saturn annoyance, I definitely will either call it out or step away and go do something else. Yeah,
that makes sense.
And that is so helpful. Can you do that in the moment? Or can you actually that is amazing, because that's when you get out of trouble with yourself, when you can actually observe yourself, like, where is this annoyance coming from? Why does that thing that he does annoy me, and what parts in me gets annoyed? Why do I get so triggered?
For sure. And I do know that Capricorn can be I don't like this word, but I don't know what else to use, a little bit of a selfish sign at times, right? There can be a lot of like being in this energy of, I have to do things, or what I'm doing is the right way, right? Whereas my Saturn is in Libra, and I work hard to be in harmony and relationship. And sometimes that's not how he's thinking, right? He's thinking, well, I got to get this project done, or I got to work on the vehicle, or he's got structural things that have to happen.
Right. And I think also with Capricorn, with that, because I have a lot of that energy too, I think that we usually think that we are right. We know the answer, but we are the authority, because it's Saturn, it's Saturn's home.
We are right.
So that energy is that you're picking up is probably so true, because you, Philip, you probably is like, yeah, you say that because you know that you're right.
Yeah. We got to parent all the other signs. That's what the
Mhm.
Capricorn's got to do.
It's hard work.
Meanwhile, my Saturn in Libra is like, actually, there are other people to consider.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm a lot in my Capricornness, I am actually relieved when I'm reminded that there's other energies too, because I can get stuck in that and rigid, because that's also Saturn, I feel like, in Capricorn. I can get very rigid and like, this is the way, and I know the best way, and you don't have to ask anyone else because I have this.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So it's
So
definitely a healthy reminder.
This
to
is
get
a
some other energies in.
Yeah, this is a placement between us we really have to work on, because it is that Capricorn energy versus Saturn, which is Capricorn energy, but it's coming through a Libra way. And it wants justice, and it wants fairness, and it wants peace and equality. And so I definitely give a different perspective, that he's like, oh, I didn't consider that. And that's a tough one in our relationship. I think we've gone to therapy, marriage counseling for that many times, to learn how to communicate effectively with each other.
Yeah, and also listen
Effectively.
listening to the other and hearing what they're saying.
Yeah, one of our therapists, when we were going through the adoption process, trying to adopt, which didn't work out, and one of the therapists we were seeing actually had us pass a tissue box back and forth, and he would have to say, when he had the tissue box, he'd have to say what his issue was, and then he'd give it to me, and we could only talk if we were holding the tissue box. We couldn't talk over the top of each other. We had to just actively listen. And then he'd pass it to me, and I'd have to repeat what I heard him say. And I'd say, okay, I heard you say that you feel you such and such and such. And then I'd pass it back, and he'd go, actually, no, I said this, and he'd tweak it. And it took us a while to hone in on understanding, right? And really getting that listening component down, to listen to what they were trying to get across. And that took some big time patience and work and maturity on both of our parts. And I think that's the biggest thing. We watch a lot of relationship shows on TV, not a lot, but that's like our thing. Is we watch, one of them's called Married at First Sight, and it's kind of a ridiculous show, but they're matched with matchmakers, and we can immediately see which ones are not going to work based on the way they're communicating with each other. It's
and you're right in the end.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we're a little surprised, but it was just funny because this last season we watched, it was, I think 1 out of 5 couples actually made it through.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was,
and they had healthy communication.
Yeah. I mean, they were good like the whole time. Everybody else was kind of like,
it was very nitpicky, very, very underhanded communication, what I would call mudslinging, which is something I used to do, where, you have almost like a bag of mud, quote unquote mud, of things that person has done wrong. You've perceived that they've done something wrong. And then when you're fighting about a different subject, you reach in the bag and you sling mud at them from a different thing in the past. Yeah. And so there was a lot of that during these shows we watch. And that's something I see a lot with couples that don't make it or aren't strong, is this really digging deep to almost hurt the other person because they're hurt, right? And
I guess it's just a way to save face in a way.
Yeah.
In the relationship. And
it just seems like, and I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know. It could be, I guess, but they just seem to have this, they're looking out for themselves more than anything, which is, don't get me wrong, in relationships is very important, especially in new relationships, but there wasn't a whole lot of, hey, what can I do for you?
Right.
It was a lot of, I want to make sure that I'm getting what I want. I want this kind of husband or wife. And if that's not the case, then we're going to, have issues, instead of just going in with, some lower expectations and working together to see, what you can actually do or accomplish together. But yeah, it was a lot of just, I'm not getting what I want or something like that. And
so it must be your fault.
Yeah. They're not making me happy or something like that.
And I'm over here watching this show going, he's got to have Scorpio. He's getting all stingy and bitey. This one is totally a Taurus.
Yeah.
That one is definitely Sagittarius dominant. Like the whole time we're watching the show, I'm picking out their astrology signs. And I bet you I was pretty accurate.
Oh, absolutely.
And like, I think we talked about this before, that they should have an astrologer on the show as one of the ones who pick the couples.
Yes.
Right.
It only makes sense because had we known in our early 20s that his Mercury was square to my Saturn in an air sign, and his Mercury is in a stubborn, Capricorn sign, had we known this energy, we could have observed it and worked with it in, I think, a much, much easier way, really. And knowing that, hey, this is really kind of the main thing in your relationship. Yeah, you got some emotional chaos with Moon opposite Uranus and Moon opposite Jupiter. Yep. But really, communication is everything. And we had to work hard, right? Capricorn doesn't usually give up. We had to work hard. And that's something that we really pushed through. But man, that would have been nicer to know.
Right.
Yeah. Imagine like some kind of fairy godmother sort of coming to like couples in the beginning and just giving them a few words along the way. Like, this is great. Just so you know, you will need to have patience for Laura's da-da-da and vice versa.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then right next to that, there is his Venus is square to my Mars. Now, Venus and Mars are really important in relationship, like uber important, right? That's what people always talk about is Venus, and when men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? And typically you would think, oh, if somebody's Venus and Mars are square to each other, that's not a good relationship, right? That's not going to work out. But I disagree and just say, well, that's definitely something we've had to work through. We've had to work through how much he gives and how and sexual stuff and with my Mars, and we've had to really work on some balance and harmony in that department as well. And it has been a learning
that's
process.
Definitely been a struggle for us, is on the more intimacy or romantic side of things.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have parents that were romantic by any means, in any sense of the word, really.
Catholics?
No. They did things for each other, yes, but it was more service oriented, or they'd have a dinner together or something like that. But other than that, no, it was very they're very what do you want to call them, rigid or stiff, and they didn't really get into that. So it was definitely a struggle for us too, to try and be that without really knowing how. I mean, we're not emotional people in in general, just because it's
both of us have these 12th house moons that are hidden from us, so we do have to work to feel our own emotions for sure. So I was going to pull up I was going to pull up a composite chart. Did you want to see that? Should we look at that?
Yeah, let's look at it. But I also want to just say that your Mars is also, both of your Marses are in a trine to each other. So you also have that. The drive is, you do have that like easy flow energy.
Yeah, his Mars in Aquarius in that air sign, trine to my Mars in Libra in that air sign. We definitely have a similar drive and ambition with intellect and communication and ideas. Very, very idea oriented people.
Right. Yep.
So I think that helps significantly. And as far as sexuality and stuff goes too, and sexual nature within relationship, both of us having that Mars in air, I think helps us to be flexible. And really lets go of the rigidity, that the rest of his earthiness has, right? The rest of his earthiness, but it helps us to really have more
flow better. We flow together a lot better, especially if we're on the same page and we want the same thing. We can get there a lot better.
And my Venus is in Aquarius and his Mars is in Aquarius, so that's helpful there. So even though we have the other one is square, right, the other way, we still have that Venus Mars in Aquarius, so there is that connection. So that's what I love about synastry is each of us has our own planets, right? There's 2 planets each So, he has his Venus, I have my Venus. And so even though one of them may be square to each other, you can look at the other coupling and see how that is and how that is affected. And you can see which one to play off of or lean on when things get harder. So we know that if he is stuck and he is really feeling down and really stuck in the mud, like my job is to lift him up and motivate and encourage and inspire. Whereas if I'm starting to burn out or I'm starting to get a little too chaotic, his job is to anchor and to support and ground and provide that stability, and however that looks. So I think understanding our roles, me as the initiator, like for years, I was like, I just want you to initiate. And that's all I want. And now I look at our chart and go, well, that was stupid of me. Like,
he's not meant to.
Yeah, he's not
No,
going
he
to.
won't do it. You might want it, but it's not going to happen.
Exactly. So that's where I've let go of a lot of like, oh, well, I wish he would initiate. Well, I can wish all day long, but I'd look at his chart and go, well, that's not who I married.
Right.
Yeah, and that has helped me also so much in my relationship, just looking at that and saying, well, that's not going to happen. So I might as well, just find another way of doing that.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pull up our composite chart because I think it's so interesting. So composite chart is, here we go. A composite chart is when you merge the two charts together to create its own personality. So it literally moves the planets, it moves the houses, it moves everything and creates its own, essentially its own birth chart for the relationship.
Yeah. And it's like they take your son, Laura, and then your son, Philip, and they go to the midpoint.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Where it meets. And that's the son that you end up with. So you have an Aquarius son.
Yeah, so we become very Aquarian when we are merged together. So this is how people would view us as a couple. So as this unit, this cohesive unit together for 23 years, people see us as weirdos.
Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty accurate.
That makes me laugh so hard.
I guarantee our families think so.
I agree.
Oh, for sure.
That's cool. So you have your sun in Aquarius, you have Mercury there. You also have Venus and your MC, sort of your contribution to the world.
Yeah.
In Aquarius, all of that.
In Aquarius. Yep. So do you want to know something? Should we announce it? Should we put it out there?
Oh, wow.
Ooh, we're putting it out
there. Are we making that official already?
We are.
Jeez.
So our
Capricorn mind, I don't think is ready for that, but
too bad.
Go ahead, Aries.
Too bad.
So we have been on our farm now for 10, almost 11 years. On my birthday, it'll be 11 years. And the first 10 years have been great. And we have been known as Lotto's Lazy Acres. And that's been fine. The lazy part is the acres. We are not lazy, but the acres are, right? And we have been so much enjoying what we've done so far, just kind of trying different things. We tried milk goats. We tried this kind of CSA, this supported agriculture thing. And we did a bunch of different things. And now I feel like we're starting to hone in on really what our goals and our ambitions are with our family and all of that. And so we've decided to rebrand ourselves and rename our farm. And we were thinking on this for a while, kind of coming up with some things. And the other day I took a walk, just me and the dog all by myself. Nobody was here. He had the kids somewhere. And I took a walk and I asked while I was walking in the woods and in the field and stuff, I said, what is our farm name? And I got a phrase and I was like, oh, interesting. So I came in and I told it to you like the next day, I think. And he goes, oh, I thought of that one 2 days ago. And I was like, shut up. You did not.
Okay.
So, and of course, the time frame that it is, we are in this time frame. So our new farm name is Aquarian Acres. Yeah. Doesn't that fit perfectly?
Oh, yeah. That is so... Did you know that your MC was an Aquarius before that, Laura?
I think I knew it, but not necessarily consciously. Like I wasn't thinking of that.
Yeah.
So I very much heard this like somebody was speaking to me. It kind of came from the top left of my head, and someone was like, Aquarian Acres. I was like, okay.
Aquarian Acres.
And we are in an Aquarius time frame right now, and he came up with it independently of me a few days before, but never said anything.
Right.
So
That
when
is
I
so
look,
crazy.
isn't that when I look at our composite chart, MC is at 9 degrees Aquarius, and then our Sun and our Mercury are at 20 and 22 in the 10th house of contribution to society. Like this is literally
this is
what
your
we're
relationship.
This is what we're here to do. Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was very entertaining. And when you look at this chart, there's a square, a T-square from Sun and Mercury to our Chiron in Taurus. And then that goes across to Jupiter in Scorpio, and then is square up to Sun and Mercury. So we're missing that fourth leg to really create that structure of that foundation, right? So when you've got this T-square, you really would like a grand cross so that you can build a solid foundation from that nice, having 4 table legs.
Fourth leg.
Yeah. So when you look at this chart and you're like, wait, the whole 4th house and Leo is empty. And I was like, oh, it's our children. It's our kids who are the 4th leg of our chart and of our farm.
For sure.
And our Sun is a Leo rising, and our 2 girls, Gertie and Gwen, are Leo Mars and Leo Venus. So like it's
and Leo is all about children as well.
Yep.
It's all about fun and kids.
Yep. So we're having fun with kids, aren't we?
Oh, so much fun. Oh my gosh.
That makes me go kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So I found that so intriguing. So we are in the process of rebranding. We are coming up with a new logo. His job this week is to make a new website, and really the whole concept of Aquarius is really what we want to do. It's community. It's bringing people together. It's thinking in new ways and connecting with each other through, like, look, we're talking to Sweden right now. Like, how cool is that? I just think that's so fun. So, and we want to have retreats here and bringing people just together with new strange ideas that they had not really thought of before. And that's really our goal and our ambition.
That's
so
nice.
Instead of reinventing the wheel when it comes to creating our motto, I was like, well, let's just look up a bunch of Aquarian words. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Ta-da! And your 11th house is in Pisces.
Yeah.
So I feel like bringing all of these people to your farm
for healing.
And then you'll have them there for healing because the 11th house is community and Pisces.
One of our long-term goals is so we have 35 acres. It's a lot of land. And one of our long-term goals is to have some yurts or smaller buildings out on the land, kind of hidden among the woods, for people to come out and rent or use for an extended period of time to heal their bodies and their mind and their soul from the toxic world that we are stuck in. So whether they just went through cancer treatment, or whether they're trying to, lose weight naturally, or whatever the situation, got out of a divorce, lost loved ones, like this would be a healing place where they can come, walk the donkeys, walk the goats, tend the garden, be in nature for whatever they need. And we will provide the space and the education and whether services that they're looking for. So
that's amazing. And you have your ascendant as a couple in Gemini, so that's sort of like socializing, chatty, and also like networking. But I'm also thinking about all of your building projects, because Gemini is so much about the design aspect as well. So building this new farm and thinking about all the new designs, all the new little places that needs to be refreshed, built and made up for everyone to feel comfortable.
New energy. Gemini is I think it's such a great infusion of life. Gemini really brings a lot of stirring of the energies. It doesn't like stagnant, right? It can't be stagnant. I hate that. So I love I don't want stagnant energy.
No, definitely not.
So I love
you have
Gemini
another
rising.
T-square.
Yeah, we have another one. We have one
Yeah.
between Venus and the moon. There's a square between Venus and Aquarius and the moon in Taurus. So as a couple, we have a Taurus moon in the 12th house. And then that is opposite our Saturn and Pluto in the 6th house in Libra. And then that is square to Venus in Aquarius. So again, the other leg would still be in Leo. It would be in the 3rd house of communication and writing, though. So, which is interesting because he's wanted to be a writer forever, and I have encouraged that for forever. And then this year I became a writer, which is so weird.
Amazing.
And, you know, it's not even just writing, but it's podcasting. It's putting yourself out there and communicating.
For sure. And you're going on stage, Philip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we are finding how to work with these squares and these, you know, this big red energy that when you look at a chart, you go, ooh, some people get so scared of that. I see so many posts in social media and so much where people are just terrified of that energy. I'm like, calm down. It's okay.
It's just like you say, it's like a muscle that needs to be trained.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable at first, but then you get strong.
Yep. It's like watching a toddler learn how to walk. They fall 7,000 times.
Yeah.
And they just keep getting up, and eventually they learn how to run and stabilize themselves, and they don't even think twice. So that's what I think of these T-squares, and then creating, adding that 4th pillar, that 4th leg, to really create that structure. So you can, I remember in school, actually, it was in our applied astrology school, one of our ladies in our class had that in her chart. She had the Grand Cross. So it's basically 4 squares and then 2 oppositions. And she said, you can't build a skyscraper unless you have solid foundation, solid footing. And I was like, oh, I love that so much. So that's kind of how I view these big, huge, red, intense energies that so many people get scared of.
Yeah, nothing to be afraid of.
No.
But speaking of, you also have a lot of blue lines.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
And you have one in particular I'm looking at is Neptune, because from Neptune you have sextiles going out to Saturn and Pluto. You have sextiles going to Mercury and the Sun, and then you have a trine to the Moon.
Yeah, it almost looks like an arrow, doesn't it? Shooting at Neptune.
It is. Yeah, it looks like it.
And Neptune happens to be in, we actually have 4 things in the 7th house of marriage and business partnership. So there's Neptune, and then Sirius, which is how we feel nurtured and nourished. Our Mars is there, drive and ambition. And then, of course, there's our planet of chaos.
So there will always be some kind of chaos. I mean, chaos is also a scary word, but you could also say, like, you know, a lot of new ideas and uniqueness within your relationship. Independence, for sure. Change is good. Yeah.
But I love that trine between Neptune and our moon. I think that brings a really strong intuition.
And again, that Neptune is in the 7th house of your relationship.
Yeah. And he's dropped a couple intuitive things in our marriage and relationship where all of a sudden we had one piece of property we were going to go live on and build on. And he came home one day and he's like, we're not supposed to go there. We have to go look for something else. And I was like, whoa, what? And so he's dropped a couple of these intuitive bombs on me that I was not expecting. But
you went along with it.
Yeah, because you have to. You can't argue with the Capricorn when that happens.
Not about land.
What am I going to do? Negotiate and be like, actually, I mean, if he's presenting it to me, I know he's thought about it for at least a week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's worked out all of the things, and I got nothing. I got no rebuttal I could give that would change his mind. So I've learned now that, okay, I guess we're changing direction. And sometimes even for me, it gets a little uncomfortable to shift.
Oh, sure. I would imagine.
When my earth does an earthquake, it throws me off.
Yeah.
So I love looking at synastry charts to see how the planets affect each other. But then when you really look at a composite chart and see how the energies merge together, it really gives you this whole picture of relationship. And you can do this with parents and children. You can do this with you and your bestie. You can do this with, you know, whoever, siblings. This is great for siblings. And of course, you know, lovers and couples. But I think relationship readings are so helpful. And that's why I wanted to dive into this. And I'm doing relationship special all month, all February long. And just to help people really understand each other.
And
really
where can people find those readings? Is it on your website?
It's on my website, lauraleelotto.com. It's a pop-up that shows up. I'm so excited. My web lady's getting really good at that. So yeah, so we're doing a discount for relationship readings this month, because I really feel that this next generation, the early 20-somethings, you know, the mid-20s, people in their mid-20s, I think they've really found that they're struggling bad when it comes to not only understanding themselves, but who they are within relationship. And I'm seeing so many people just checking out because they don't know what else to do. They don't know how to dig in and dig deep and check in. So that's what astrology can do.
It's so helpful because it literally, you know, it shows you a map of yourself or like your partnership, and you can pick things out, and you can look at just the moon Saturn opposition, and you can talk about that.
Right.
And you can really dive into things, because otherwise it can be hard just going into, you know, you have a feeling, a vague feeling that something isn't right, but you don't know exactly what it is.
Right.
It's so much. There's so much information to get from here.
It can be so frustrating. Now, knowing that in our composite chart, Saturn's at 26 degrees Libra and Pluto's at 27 degrees Libra, we are going to continuously transform and mature within our relationship. And this is in the 6th house of day-to-day work, routine, service, health, and animals. Yay. So we constantly have to keep maturing and growing, Saturn, and transforming and digging deep and uprooting all of the dark shit, all of the secrets from our past, all of the past trauma from, you know, being raised however we were raised. And our families were lovely, don't get me wrong. They didn't, you know, screw us up or anything, but there's definitely some missing components from the generation before when it comes to emotional health. And you know, we both are in contact with our parents and talk to them regularly. It's not, we don't have any ill will towards them. It's just, there's always a growing and maturing each generation, ideally, you know. And we have to work hard on letting go of the programming that doesn't serve us, so we can mature into that Libra peace and harmony and balance and equality kind of feeling. So knowing that, like, we're always going to be working hard on transforming every day. Like, that's us. That's who we are.
Yeah.
You know, that's an important thing to know.
For sure. And I just glanced over to the moon placement that you have in this composite chart. And it's a Taurus moon. So it's no wonder that you really bond and have a nice time together when you're out in the garden. Because your relationship is a Taurus moon. And Taurus is the earth sign, and it's all about the ground and the flowers and putting in the seeds and seeing them grow, and that super loyal, stable also energy.
We love that. You know, whether we're trimming our trees in February or out in the garden in June or July, like, the two of us can just be together. We don't even have to talk. Sometimes we do, but frequently we're just quiet together in the garden, and we're like, oh, this is so nice.
It's probably so relaxing, and that's really nurturing for your relationship.
It's super like nurturing. We go on little mini dates. We're like, we'll leave the kids in the house. You want to go pick some beans? Yeah, let's go pick some beans.
Amazing. That's a date.
That's our date. Our
bean date.
And that's also so helpful to look at your chart with you and your partner's chart and see, okay, where can we find the stillness and nourishment as a couple?
I think so. I think it's huge. Really huge. So
cool.
Any final thoughts for us, Helena? Are we gonna make it?
I think you are. You're gonna make it, and you have a fifth one coming soon, so you better.
I know, right?
No kidding,
I know. So yeah, if anyone is interested in doing a relationship reading or wants to learn more, like reach out to us at any time and shoot us an email and let us know what your thoughts are, what you're struggling with. I know, Helena, you've been in a relationship now for 6 years, 5 years,
6.5.
6.5.
Going on 7, yeah.
Getting there, and
getting there.
and we're going on like 23.5, I think, is how long we've been together.
Yeah.
So
we got nothing on you.
It's a long road.
You love it. I said his life would be so boring without me.
And it's so true.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good match. I mean, you have so much earth, and then you have so much air and fire.
Yeah,
it's
definitely an opposite attract. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
And we've seen that with the relationship shows we watch. We've seen the opposites attract, and we've seen where they can become polarized and they can push away too. And I'm like, uh-oh, that's happening. Look at that.
Yep.
You have to, sometimes when you're so opposite, you really do have to dig in and work hard to come together, because you can get stuck in your own ways, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So, I think we're doing good.
I think we're gonna make it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in today, everybody. We appreciate you listening in too.
And thanks, Philip, for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's good to see you,
Anytime.
Helena.
All right. We'll see you later, guys.